In this video, we are going on a journey through time into the fascinating past of the United States, exploring rarely seen old images. Horse-drawn carriages travel through the streets of Longacre Square, shortly before its transformation into Times Square around 1900. The location, which today hosts one of the largest concentrations of the entertainment industry in the world, along with major international brand stores, was originally called Longacre Square until April 1904. The name was given by British colonists, but was changed to Times Square in reference to the New York Times, which had recently moved its headquarters to the area. In 1889, a train of borax wagons and a water tank, pulled by a team of 20 mules, prepares to cross the arid Death Valley, California, before starting its 165-mile journey to the railroad terminal in Mojave. Pioneers, sitting casually in front of a train loaded with logs, crossing a precarious wooden bridge over the deep gorges of the Cascade Mountains in Oregon in 1906. Before school buses, there were school wagons. This wagon, loaded with children, was heading to a school near Lexington, Kentucky in 1900. Amidst the chaos and desolation, residents of San Francisco, with the few belongings they managed to save, watch helplessly as their homes and everything they built is destroyed. The flames of the Great Fire that followed the devastating 1906 earthquake continue to consume the city. This earthquake, one of the most severe in U.S. history, reduced much of San Francisco to rubble. Courtney's store and post office in Sheep Camp, Alaska in 1899. Courtney operates his store from a canvas tent. Sheep Camp, located in southeastern Alaska, was a stopover for prospectors on their way to the Canadian goldfields during the Klondike Gold Rush. In 1885, under the vast Nebraska sky, a farming family, dressed in modest clothing, proudly poses in front of their sod house. In the background, a windmill symbolizes the power of nature and human perseverance. Around 1900, a woman braves the cold and snow in New York City, raising Christmas funds for the Salvation Army. The Salvation Army, one of the largest charitable organizations in the world, is a Protestant Christian denomination founded in 1865 by William Booth, a Methodist minister, and his wife Catherine Mumford in London. The vibrant St. Charles Avenue in New Orleans was a true cultural melting pot in 1890. Horse-drawn carriages glided between elegant commercial buildings and imposing hotels, while life buzzed on the streets, painting a picture of the city's rich history. On an upward journey, Ruth Malcolmson, at just 18 years old, followed the path from Miss Philadelphia in 1924 to reaching the pinnacle as Miss America in Atlantic City in the same year. In 1887, Texas Rangers line up in front of a grocery store in Cotulla, Texas. The Texas Ranger Division is a law enforcement agency with jurisdiction throughout the state of Texas. The Texas Rangers became an iconic part of Old West mythology, frequently portrayed in books and popular magazine articles. In 1911, young coal miners in Nanticoke, Pennsylvania, are shown in a photograph. Almost all coal-breaking facilities in the United States were highly dependent on labor. Removing impurities was done manually, usually by breaker boys aged between 8 and 12 years old. Around 1880, the heart of Silver King, Arizona, pulses with activity. 2 freight teams, each with 4 mule-drawn wagons loaded with ore, cross the main artery of the quiet town. In 1889, 2 large overland stagecoach wagons cross a bridge on their way to the city of Deadwood, South Dakota. Men wave or tip their hats in greeting to the photographer, capturing a unique moment of this journey. The 12th Street drawbridge in Chicago, rising majestically in 1900, granted passage to vessels navigating the waters of Lake Michigan. Hundreds of pedestrians watched the New York City subway underground after a fire under Broadway at West 55th Street on January 6, 1915. The fire, confined to 2 subway manholes, was caused by an electrical short circuit at 8 a.m., according to a New York Times article published the following day. The frontier town of Dodge City, Kansas, around 1872, reflected a pioneering entrepreneurial spirit. At the time, Dodge City was an important trading hub for travelers and buffalo hunters. In 1910, a young messenger in Nashville, Tennessee, poses with his bicycle. Since the development of the pedal-powered velocipede in the 1860s, bicycles had been quickly adopted for delivery services. A whole class gathered in front of the small one-room schoolhouse in Round Top, Texas, in 1907. Rural Texas youth experienced education in a simple and welcoming environment. Amidst the chaos of daily life, a young newsboy sold his papers in downtown St. Louis on a Saturday afternoon in 1900. On May 14, 1862, a group of African Americans, their faces marked by hope and fear, gathers in front of a house in Cumberland Landing, Virginia. During the Civil War, these individuals were referred to as contrabands by Union forces, a term that, although neutral at the time, now carries complex historical connotations. A family is pictured in front of their home in Texas in 1918. At that time, large cameras took several minutes or more to capture the image, which explains the serious poses and absence of smiles. In 1910, lumberjacks pose next to gigantic sequoia logs in Humboldt County, California. The immense height and width of the trees are highlighted by the presence of the men, who appear tiny compared to the colossal size of the sequoias, at a time when logging was at its peak. Shrouded in a mist of smoke and steam, Delaware Avenue in 1908 thrummed with everyday life. The clinking of carriage bells and the noise of streetcar engines created an urban symphony, while street vendors offered their goods to passers-by. In 1871, a sheep-eater tribe family is seen in a tent camp in the Rocky Mountains of Idaho. The sheep-eaters, also known as sheep-eaters due to their primary food source, the wild sheep, considered Yellowstone their permanent home. During the 1870s and 1880s, Vancouver Barracks was involved in military actions against Native American peoples throughout the Northwest. In 1864, on Whitehall Street in Atlanta, a historic moment is captured in a setting that harks back to slavery. A black Union soldier, recruited into the United States colored troops in 1863, rests in front of a slave auction house. The sign, reading, "Auction and Sales of Negroes," serves as a painful reminder of the past. Around 1900, a taxidermy shop in Kansas displays bison heads in front of its establishment. As the United States expanded westward in the early 19th century, the trade in bison hides, leather, and meat thrived on the Great Plains. For generations, bison were essential to Native American tribes, providing not only food and clothing, but also shelter and spiritual significance. On January 24th, 1908, during a snowstorm that hit New York City, horse-drawn carts removed piles of accumulated snow. All the snow was cleared manually. A family in their horse-drawn covered wagon in the state of Kansas in 1908. The boy appears to be holding a rifle. At that time, boys and girls learned from an early age to hunt with rifles and protect family members. Young working women in a cotton mill in Kosciuszko, Mississippi, in 1913, subjected to long hours and poor conditions during the height of the textile industry. The widow and children of a coal miner are photographed shortly after his funeral in West Virginia in 1910. In 1889, 3 men, accompanied by a loyal dog, sift through the icy waters of a creek in the Black Hills of South Dakota. Hope shines in their eyes, fueled by the legends of a recent past, when gold treasures worth $350,000 were extracted from these very hills between 1876 and 1878. Calloused hands of African Americans move with skill, separating cotton fibers and preparing them for the gin at Smith Plantation on Port Royal Island, South Carolina, in 1862. In 1909, in Knoxville, Tennessee, the story of Coca-Cola takes to the streets. 2 delivery men, pioneers of the brand, proudly pose with one of the first Ford delivery trucks, marking the beginning of a new era. President Abraham Lincoln, wearing a top hat in the center, is accompanied by General George B. McClellan, who is staring at him, and McClellan's staff on the battlefield of Antietam during the American Civil War in Maryland in 1862. Daily routines at the camp of the 31st Pennsylvania Infantry, later known as the 82nd Pennsylvania Infantry, at Queen's Farm, near Fort Slocum, Washington, District of Columbia, during the Civil War in 1861. A determined pioneer family moves forward with their covered wagon through the vastness of the plains, heading toward an uncertain future in North Loup, Nebraska, during the Great Migration West in 1886. A photo of Raymond Schuyler with 4 of his children on a snowy day in Worcester, Massachusetts, in the winter of 1904. The February 1920 blizzard paralyzed New York, but the markets on West Street, filled with carriages and wagons, tried to keep up with business as usual. Under the Florida sun, elegantly dressed bathers enjoy a day of leisure in Palm Beach in 1905. In 1906, the bustling Washington Street, north of Temple Place, thrummed with the energy of downtown Boston. Carriages trotted among the streetcars, while hurried pedestrians squeezed along the sidewalks, surrounded by elegant stores. This photo of the Hatfield clan, taken around 1897, depicts the famous family from West Virginia, renowned for their legendary feud with the McCoy clan from Kentucky. The conflict, which began shortly after the end of the Civil War, became an icon of American folklore in the late 19th century. Around 1900, a miner rests with his family in a cabin in Colorado. In the background, power lines indicate the proximity of a large mine. Some mines in Colorado were electrified even before the start of the 20th century. In 1922, the banks of the Potomac River were the setting for a gathering of friends, all dressed in the elegant modern swimsuits of the time. Around 1902, a group of cowboys sits on the ground having breakfast in front of a chuck wagon on the Great Plains of Texas. Under the California sun in 1890, workers at Stockdale Ranch stack freshly cut hay into large piles during a hard day of work in the fields. A horse-drawn fire engine speeds down 72nd Street at Broadway toward a fire in New York around 1910. During the westward expansion in 1875, members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, a restorationist denomination founded in the 19th century in the United States, performed baptisms of Paiute Indians in Utah. An immigrant family on the docks of Ellis Island in New York gazes at the city skyline while waiting for the ferry to take them there in 1925. Throughout the 19th century and early 20th century, Ellis Island was the main gateway for immigrants to the United States. Thank you for watching this video. If you've made it this far, you probably enjoyed it. Don't forget to leave a like and share your comments below. No matter where you are in the world, your support is essential to the channel. We're counting on your help.
The many miles we walk, the many things we learn, the building of the shrine, only just to burn.